Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that we received. The translation reads like this: I never thought that a moment of desperation could haunt me for the rest of my life. It has been over 20 years, but what happened that night in 2000 has never left me. I was young, scared, and struggling to survive. I did not know much about what I was doing, but life as a prostitute in Harare was not easy, and I had learned quickly how to adapt. But one mistake changed everything. Now I live with a secret that has been eating away at me day by day, night by night, and no matter how far I try to run, the past seems to find me no matter what. Back then, I thought that I had it all under control. I had clients, and some of them were regulars who paid really well. I had convinced myself that I knew the game, that I could keep things safe and separate. One of those clients was a man who never asked for much but paid me really well. This man, he was a good paying client. I thought that maybe if I could keep him around, I would have some stability. I did not want to lose him to the next girl in town. Yes, people need to know this, especially you married women. When your husband goes out to spend some time with a prostitute, you do not know how much risk you would have brought into the marriage, because girls that do sell their bodies, they do whatever that they can so that they can just at least keep your man. It's not like they will be in love with your man. These women, they are different from girlfriends. A girlfriend, at least maybe she can have some decency to know that this one is a married man. Yes, I can be with him, but he's a married man. But a prostitute does not care whether you are married or not. All that she wants is money, and money is what pushes a prostitute. And the problem now that is happening is that most of these girlfriends, they are just prostitutes in a way, because they would be in love with your husband's money. They do not care about your husband as such. They want the money. So those women, they are willing to use charms so as to keep your man. And some of these charms, you do not know what exactly are you going to be feeding this man that you want to keep, like what happened in my own case. And I want people to be very careful when they start to visit and making love to prostitutes, because you are just becoming a high risk. Because girls that do prostitution, they use a lot of love potions to keep a man so that a man can stay with you. In my desperation, that is what I did. I remember clearly this man, he had gotten his salary. This was a very long time ago. You will get your money in an envelope. He would come over and he would show me the money. Then I would take my own portion. Then the rest he would go with it back to his family. He came over, we went and we drank some alcohol together. And when we had returned back, he was a little bit drunk. He wanted to leave, but I wanted him to stay, because the very next morning, I wanted him to give me more money to go out to spoil myself. And he had already told me that he had some other plans with the money. So that was when I took one of the potion that I had been given by this other traditional healer whom I had met at Matapi in Mare. This man, he just gave me that potion. It was in a very small bottle, and he said that I was not supposed to use a lot of it. But Brother Nashi, because I wanted this potion to work, he had told me that this thing is supposed to work over time, and I was supposed to give him a little bit by a little bit each and every time that he would come and visit me. Brother Nashi, when I poured all the contents into his chibuku that he was busy drinking, he then kept on drinking without even noticing that I had poured some charms into his chibuku. At first, nothing happened. We made love, we laughed, we drank, everything was normal. But then he started acting differently. His face, Brother Nashi, he turned pale, and he started clutching his chest and his stomach. He said that he was in pain, like he knew that something was wrong. panic flooded me. He tried to stand, but his legs gave out. I wanted to help, but I was frozen. In a matter of minutes, he collapsed, his body going still, and just like that, he was gone. I sat there staring at him, unable to believe what I had done. I then spoke with some of my friends who were busy working on the street. When they saw him, they were shocked as well, and they said that if you go to the police, you are going to jail for a very long time. So we had to cover it up. Then that was when one of the girl called one of her client who had a car, and then he came and we dragged his body into the car, barely thinking about the consequences. But at that time, the man was still breathing. As we were driving into the city center, that was when we saw that there was this other place where a lot of people were drinking beer. And then the man suggested that instead of going to drop him at the hospital, what we were supposed to do was to leave him somewhere, because we thought that he was just having a couple of blackouts. We carefully offloaded him from the car. He was groaning in pain, this man, and that client of my other friend went into that club and bought a few bottles, and then we made him to sit, and we left him with a few bottles around him, making it look like he was a drunkard who had drank too many. I remember placing a beer bottle near his hand, knowing that no one would question it, and that was the last time that I saw the man. In weeks that followed, Brother Nashi, I tried to move on. I changed the place where I was staying, started working in another part of town. We just heard that there was a man who had drank too much alcohol, and this man, he had blacked out and he had died because it was really cold throughout the night. He was just sleeping there. But then I started to notice things that were happening to me. When I would be walking, I would feel as if there would be someone that would be following me. I thought that it was the guilt that was eating away at me. But those dreams, they kept on coming back, and I would hear his voice. This man, he is giving me clear instructions. He even tells me what I am supposed to do. He tells me that his wife has since passed away, and it hurts him a lot because he wanted his wife to know the truth as to what happened to him. Now he is telling me to go to Murewa, where his relatives are, so that I can tell them that I was the one who caused his death. He wants his kids to know that it was me who caused his death, but I cannot do that. First of all, as we all know that in our country, if it ever happens that you are accused of killing someone, then you need to pay a lot of cattle to the family. But I do not have anything. I never got anything out of prostitution. I am a woman that is just struggling. So what do? I once traveled to Zambia, where I met up with this other traditional healer this traditional healer gave me a stone that I was supposed to go and place that rock on top of this man's grave. Indeed, this man, he was summoned into that consultation room, and he spoke after he had possessed this other young boy that was at that traditional healer's compound, and spoke and told us exactly where he was buried. I used those directions, and I was given some charms so as to weaken his spirit, and then I went and I placed that rock on top of his grave. This is how I have been surviving. Brother Nashi, this man has since told me that he is going to be following all of my brother's daughters, and he's going to make them to become his wife for the sins that I committed against him. This is my story, Brother Nashi. If you post my story, please tell me, because I'll be following through in the comment section. Dear listeners, right there was a message that we received, and that was the translation of that message. Strange things indeed, they do happen in this world.